What is up, you guys? Welcome to another after work yapping. Yes, you heard that right. Not after work choppings. We're gonna yap after work. So first of all, this is the very first episode and we're gonna discuss a few things. But before we get started, I thought it was nice to give you guys the genesis of this idea and why we are starting to do this. A week ago, our very own lovely Bobby told me about this trend that's happening on TikTok. Those, if I would have coffee with my younger self, how would the coffee date go? So I did this exercise with ChatGPT and it sparked something within me in the sense of what would I give as advice to the younger self? Because when we started this journey a while back, when I was 22, so it's a long time ago, I had no guidance. There was not really ChatGPT. There's no such thing as text to image or text to video or templates ready to go or guidelines, tutorials ready to consult if you are not certain or unaware or uneducated in certain subjects and other fields that you might not be aware of. Because obviously, if you start out, maybe to some not that obvious, if you start out really from nothing as an entrepreneur, especially if you want to run a restaurant or any business or endeavor for that matter, you're gonna lack some certain information. Obviously, you have fields that you're very strong in and some fields that you're less strong in, but most of the things you have to learn along the way. Or if you're lucky enough, you have people that show you like a mentor or people that have done it before. But for us, we had none of that. So in that sense, we were basically those games where you go further along the map more from the shadows, so you clear more lights. So that was our beginning days. So that's what sparked this whole series. So we're intending to make multiple series, hopefully every week on Wednesday after work, obviously, because after work yapping and I like to yap. We're gonna make this really interactive so you guys can post questions, even send in questions. We have Teddy behind the screen. Say
hi
to the people. And she's gonna make screenshots of all the questions or remarks you guys might have. I'm gonna ask for her help as well if to maybe assist in certain facts, if you're gonna fact check certain things so I don't speak the wrong dates or like terminologies. So that's why Teddy's here and she's gonna monitor behind the scenes what you guys are sending so we can like really make this engaging, because along the way you guys get to decide a little bit how the talk is gonna go or the monologue. I hope it's gonna be a dialogue between us, but we'll see along the way. So that was the first spark of why we are starting to do this. So basically this is, how do you say, a nice note to what anyone that's starting off who might seek some guidance. And I'm not saying that we know everything, for sure not. We have a lot of things to learn. But along the decades of doing this, so basically solopreneur, finding things yourself, starting off on your own without any guiding hand or mentor or example of finding your own way. And I do believe, from my observations, a lot of us do have a certain dream, goal, hobby, objective they want to do. And more these days, I hear that people do want to start something on their own endeavor, own businesses. Mind you, when we started back in 2009, that was not a thing. People still ridicule you. Oh, you go to university for just to become a restaurateur. They do see having your own business as of its lower tier of an endeavor to pursue. And we all know now entrepreneurship is cool. All the young people and even the old people, they start to make their side hustle or hobby a business. And then eventually they get to, hopefully they eventually quit the job they hate and start doing what they love. And all of us and most of us really start off without a lot of guidance because you believed in something or you stood behind your goals or your dreams and you just basically started out to pursue it. But lucky for you guys, and that's a nice segue for the second spark, there is so much out there. We live in 2025 as we speak right now in February 2025. There is so much tools you can use, utilize, consult. There are so many guidelines, templates, tutorials to follow. But then that's my point of the second spark why we are doing this. You get decision fatigue because all these choices, for some people maybe you're good at analyzing your decisions and choices and paths, and then for you it's easy to like, hey, this is what my options are, this is what I'm choosing. But most of us, eventually, because of all the choices, you end up doing nothing. It's like opening Netflix, you scroll and scroll and scroll, eventually you're scrolling and still didn't start any movie or series yet. I know I have this problem and I know a lot of my friends have the same. Because of decision fatigue and paralysis, you end up not choosing anything. But that's not the way to go, because we have to start eventually. So without further ado, let's dive in. The very first important point for me before deciding any technology, because the topic of today is tools, AI, technology, what you can use, implement to further your business endeavor, your branding, your marketing, whatever may be, efficiency, writing your contract, whatever may be. Before you dive in of choosing what technology to investigate, use, or invest for some people that have a business. So if I had to divide our target audience, obviously there are people that follow Gaisha Lounge and myself. These are people that usually are young, and so I would call them either people that are just curious, if they are still watching or gonna watch this, either curious about branding and marketing and entrepreneurship, or they have a side hustle on their own, or they are starting out with a real business on their own. So that's the first group. Second group, that's the opposite of the spectrum. They already have a business, but they just think everything is settled because don't fix what's not broken, which is in a sense I'd agree with, but there is for sure more efficiency to be achieved and scale efficiency you can achieve when using more technology and AI and tools. And then you have people that are in the middle that are undecided, and either they are like me and they are like just along the way, along their journey and still doing their entrepreneurship, or they're like in the growing phase of what's next. Then you have already started out, you've done some stuff, but then, yeah, hey, how do I get to the next step, or what do I consult or use for the next chapter of my life? So the very first thing I would stress for anyone out there about anything, do your own research. It's a term you hear a lot in the crypto sphere because there are so many crypto coins coming out, meme coins, whatever. They always say do your own research, but I would suggest that this is true for all tools. What do I mean by this? So you could say I'm lacking technology knowledge of video editing or graphics design or text captions, whatever may be, law advice, like accountancy advice. You might lack in one of those aspects and you're like, hey, what I'm lacking, I'm gonna outsource. I'm agreeing with this because in the end, you try to achieve the highest efficiency for the lowest cost. Because let's be honest, we are not in the habit of wasting money. We like to invest money and then eventually get a high ROI of our investment. And the same could be said about our time. So in that sense, and this is from what I've done myself as well, every time I'm curious about certain apps or tools that might be launched in the market, and you will know them because they'll go viral on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever your platform is, you'll see everyone talking about it and using it. You could think, hey, I'm too old, or I'm not this technological person, I'm not handy in these things of computers and that's not really my interest. I do strongly urge you guys to still do your own research. So at least invest 4 to 8 hours really playing with that tool. I'm gonna give you an example. For instance, when CapCut really first came out and it could very fast edit your long version videos into small clips on your mobile. Before that, a lot of people were using After Effects, Premiere Pro, Final Cut. So it was Final Cut and people used that to transform the long version into the short talking head, and it was gruesome. It took a lot of steps. You had to really know your thing, and there were certain commands you can use to make it a little bit faster, but still it's step by step. It's like a grind to eventually get your shorts, and then let's say the podcast is 2 hours to get your 20 clips. It will take a lot of time. So along the way came CapCut, like the daughter company of TikTok. Smart of them to release this because now people are gonna easily make more TikToks or shorts, which is gonna be launched in those platforms, so they get more content as well. What I did, just go on YouTube, or if you look at Vimeo, what's currently some things that people watch video on? Is it only YouTube, or what do you guys search knowledge?
Also on TikTok, but it depends.
Ah, okay. You watch tutorials on... Okay, so...
Because they're shorter.
Okay, so or YouTube, you'll find tutorials and actually play along the tutorial. So you yourself, and again to my listeners that are more older or less tech savvy, even you would then know how to get to the end result. Because we all know what we want in the end results, and for those practices, do something that you really need it. What do I mean by this? Let's say you saw some TikTok trends and nice edits of jump cuts and compilations of images and videos and effects, and take that as your example. Really search how to make it, because you want to make this fun. Your learning process should be fun. Because trust me, when you learn how to eventually make this fun, cute TikTok or reel by your own hands and knowledge, you're gonna appreciate first of all the tool. You're gonna see how efficient it is. So if you're like straight up of the belief I have to outsource everything, hey, be my guest, outsource everything. But then coming back to highest ROI, you then know if someone is setting you up, like bullshitting you. Because then you've played along with these tools, let's say CapCut in this example, you learned for yourself how much time it will take to make such a clip. Then you know if you outsource this certain task or objective to the video editor or your clipper, then you know reasonably what kind of time they can produce certain clips in. Because they do it all day, every day. So then if you can do it, let's say in 2 hours, they should be at least maximum 1 hour edit such a clip, right? Then not only will you get the results and you can better describe the results to your person for the video editing, but also you know when they are wasting time or if they are effective. So in that sense, it's really useful. But then if we draw back to the initial point, if you want to do it yourself, now you just unlocked a new skill set. You can now make reels, TikToks, shorts all by yourself in a very relative time. And as everything, if you do it more, you'll become more effective, more efficient. Because you're using it all the time, every other day or every day, you do notice any updates it might have. And because you're using it, eventually your own algorithm will just give you any updates of new tools. So this is also how you get to discover the new trends or the new wave of editing tools. Because things are going really fast. It's literally you wake up the next day and then DeepSeek comes from China and they're already catching up with ChatGPT within a year, right? So imagine how long it would take for you guys to discover these new things if you never have it on your algorithm. So now just because you're using it, not only are you saving time, but also you're aware at least what's next. And then you can further dive into these new tools. So that's one thing you can already do for just do your own research. In one side, you save costs. But another side, you know when people are bullshitting you if they are giving you the wrong quotes or if they're wasting time or not. So you know how efficient everything is being done. So that's one thing I would just start it out before you choose any kind of tool. So another thing about do your own research, I do strongly suggest for those on the camp of I'm gonna outsource everything. And if you have millions to burn, be my guest, outsource everything, hire every freelancer you can. So another thing is do at least try most things yourself, but also know where your strengths are. So second point, self-analyze yourself, triple down on your strengths, be aware of what those are, but then again also know what your weaknesses are and do a little bit of research in those weaknesses. So when you decide to outsource the weaknesses, you know they'll give you a fair deal and whether they are doing a good job or not. Giving an example of doing everything myself, how I realized this, when we started into, I think 2010, we needed a website. Back then, this will come as well with the tools and everything we'll talk about later, which things to choose. What we're using. Back then, you really had to build your website. So people use WordPress, Python, all those things. I have zero idea. So we did need a website and we needed like branding, menu cards, whatsoever. Website, I outsourced. The menu, I outsourced. So basically, we started out because I was one of those guys of, hey, I know nothing about this field or area of expertise. I'm just gonna outsource this because these people know better, right? Because you just trust people know better. Let me tell you, sometimes you know better and they don't know better. Funny example of the menu. So one of my strengths is that I can really visualize things. I don't have to see the whole picture to see the picture. So when I give the briefing for my menu and website, best believe it was like 20 pages of text. I could describe to you which corner goes where, which fonts, where the photo goes, how big the typography, whatsoever, like really in detail. So basically, that was my belief, right? If I describe this in much detail, this person will make it how I see it. Take a guess. How did it turn out eventually when I got the draft? It was nothing I wanted. And these people basically spend 10 hours, 20 hours, and they, by the way, will invoice you those 20 hours back then. So you already paid 2,000, I don't know, 1,500 just for the draft you didn't want. I would take the blame if I was someone like, hey, make something pretty and that's it. This is your description. I want these colors and this is the text. But no, I was very detailed in my briefing. I was really in detail where everything goes, space, the outlining, where the images are. I even used a little bit like the pink things, like in words you could put a box of image there and text there. It was really a big headache to do back then. So eventually after a few iterations, which every time cost money by the way, I still didn't have what I needed for the menu. So at that point, you can guess I'm like pretty much really frustrated with my designer. Or you're gonna say, hey, why don't you fire him? But then you have the sunk costs. When you start out your own business and you already invested a lot of money into something, and then you are telling yourself like, hey, which is a lesson for another time, but we're gonna talk about these things as well. You have to eventually make a decision like, hey, do I just drop this person or add more? Hopefully he will understand or she. Or I start over with a new third party or freelancer and hopefully this person will get it faster. But that's a thing you'll never know, right? So that's a topic for another day. I decided eventually to drop this person. I'm like, hey, what you can do, I can do as well. Because I already taught myself how to use Photoshop because it was needed for Facebook and Instagram, which was just released back then. So I used Photoshop, and then I learned something about InDesign because I was this stupid person who thought, hey, Photoshop is a photo editing software. Let's make a menu card in there. Guess what's gonna happen? You would know what will happen if you add a lot of images in there, because our menu card, for those that are watching and they don't know what I'm doing, we're doing an all-you-can-eat concept. People just assume you have a lot of photos with the name of the dish. So when you have more than 100 dishes, you have more than 100 photos. So guess how big the file was gonna be? 200 gigabytes. My computer didn't like that every time I opened it or tried to save it. So eventually I had to start over again because I was also this prideful person. There's like another lesson. Ask your friends for advice if people in that field. Lucky for me, I had people in that field and they laughed out loud that I was using Photoshop for the menu because they're like, bro, you use InDesign. What do you even mean? With InDesign, you can select all text, all typography, change once and it's all changed. Same with the photos, so just compress it and then you can outline it for printing and whatever, and then this is what you learn. So, moral of the story, I learned a lot of things during that one exercise. First of all, just because they're experts don't mean they're gonna get the result you need. Second of all, even if you're very clear in your description and your objective when you give those tasks to the freelancers or the companies that are gonna do it, doesn't mean that they are gonna do a good job. Third of all, by doing what I thought was correct and being prideful not asking for help, I wasted a lot of time, and time is resources. So also, fourthly, if you have friends in certain specific fields, don't be afraid or ashamed to call them, ask them for a lunch, buy them coffee, I don't care how you do it, offer them to clean their house. I don't know, it's too much, maybe it's too much. Because I know friends that are here that will be really happy. But yeah, so basically ask for help. Then I learned two softwares, because the one I wasted a lot of time in was Photoshop, so I learned that. Secondly, I learned how to make InDesign. So the moral of the story then in this sense, now because I went through all this trials and tribulations, because it all is the same, but it's like how they say that history never repeats, but it rhymes. Same with software and tools. Just because you use one thing don't mean that knowledge is lost in time, because it's the same. But only now with Canva, it's made 10 times more efficient and more easy, and they have template ready for you to go. And you know how to work with layers, how to select certain font types, how to align certain things, how to lock certain layers, how to bring it to the front, to the back. These are all, I'm getting really technical now here, from someone that's not studied in creative design or creative business or graphic design. So let's say you are now a big business and you're making certain revenue and you have multiple businesses and you want to outsource this, which makes sense because you won't have time to do it yourself. Then at least at the table talk, when you negotiate those prices for the invoices, the quotes, they think, because they don't know what your background is. You're just someone who's gonna give them a pile of money, but then there is a discrepancy between how much can we get away with certain hours? How much can we get away with certain activities that might or might not occur? Some people are like that. I know, like, you should trust everyone. I'm telling you, don't trust everyone, because trust yourself first. Because some people will really try to one-up you, always. That's how some people do business. That's not how we do it, but some people do it. So I'm just saying, so this is another advantage, right? So now you're on a negotiation table, the other side is there, you're here, you'll talk about, hey, I'm looking for this, and how you're gonna achieve this result, this, what are you using, how do you use it, how much time. Just you knowing the terminologies will give people the sense you know the stuff. So then they cannot get away with certain quotes or rates that gonna offer you. So then you're already in a one-step advantage that they think you do eventually. If you did your homework, you would know the stuff. But that's where the 20-80 rule really come in. As for everything, just know enough of the 20% so you can do the 80%. But also when you go in the talks and negotiation tables, and even when you are just out and about and have a conversation, now you just know one more topic to talk about and to engage. Because we connect easily, more effortlessly with people that we share a common interest in. Just because you know the terminology, they think you know this stuff, but they don't know you just know the 20%. And that's why you really need to dabble in a lot of fields before you decide I'm gonna outsource straight up, or I'm not gonna dive in because I'm too old or whatever. Because if I can do it, you can do it too. And this takes a few hours. And coming back to the history does not only repeat but it rhymes. The short form was already first introduced by Vine and Snapchat. You could record 60 seconds, 30 seconds. I think it was eventually, in the beginning, like 8 seconds or something with Vine. You learned how to do that. Then came Snapchat. Then came Insta Stories. Then came TikTok. Oh, first Musically, then TikTok. And in between there were like 100 started businesses. But you can see now, like even the stars that were really popular in Musically, they are popping still. Look at Logan Paul. He started out with Vine. And you have, who else? Madison Beer was like a Musically star. Look at her, she's now a star. Mr. Beast is still doing YouTube, but he's now doing television. Because streaming television is television. Think of Beast Games on Prime. So I'm really getting sidetracked. So we did first research, do your own research. Second, trust yourself, go through the trials and tribulations, try to make it work at least, dabble in it at least. Now let's dive into the meat of the talk or episode. What do we use on the daily? So I'm not saying you are going crazy and dabble in everything. No, again, it should be fun first of all, and secondly, it should serve a purpose for you. What might serve a purpose for me doesn't mean it will serve a purpose for you. For example, you're a web design company. It would be very much advised if you were already versed in Copilot or any other AI that help you write code super fast, right? Because then one person can do a 10-person's job. For us, what we use on the daily, what makes sense is ChatGPT for sure. Get the pro version because it has a memory and then it's faster, you have more fast hours, use it. I'm now at this point that I'm even using my mail replies from ChatGPT because now there is a thread knowing all the information about Geisha Lounge, and we are not that far that we can connect our web mail with chat or an AI bot that can auto respond. We're not that far. I'm sure there are services out there, but they cost a lot of money and we don't have unlimited budget. So for this time being, it works for us. So now I just copy the mail, put it on chat, get a response. Literally, you can say respond to this mail or respond to this super professionally because it's like a big corporation or something. So that is one thing we use. Another thing we do with ChatGPT, we loaded the whole cocktail menu in there. What do I mean by this? Don't be just like screenshot the pages, loading the pages. That's not specific enough. I'm talking about this specific as in it knows every brand we're using, the measurements of everything, the philosophy of our cocktail card and our subcategories, my thought process and my inspirations. And now what happens? Let's say, and this is our example, I'm thinking about using limoncello with white chocolate to make a savory, summery, really tangy cocktail. Now, if I put just this one sentence, two sentences in ChatGPT, it will spit out things that are really accurate because we're gonna need things that first of all doesn't exist yet in profile of taste, but secondly that will add to the menu because we don't want something that's a substitute. No, it could be, we can also be like, oh, we want to delete this item and we want to add another one that's similar. But what we usually do is we just have an iteration process of adding new complementary cocktails to the mix instead of just randomly selecting. So how you use ChatGPT, and I'm just gonna give a very fast analogy. Those who are writing theses or did book reports, ChatGPT is the same. Because in our example, even for the cocktails, we added 30 pages of information just so we can get an answer of one sentence of a question. And ChatGPT is the same. Some people just give certain prompts that are short without giving context, and then they blame the AI not giving the right results. That's not how you go about it. You always have to give way more context, because in that sense, then it's at least exactly as accurate as it can be getting the result what you want. Because if you do not give a clear instruction, because it's AI and a language model, it needs a framework and a context to work in. And if you do not give the framework and the context to work in, it doesn't know where to look and where to start, and it will just randomly select stuff and just here you go. That doesn't work. You have to be really specific, just as a thesis, how you walk through all those research papers for your theoretical background, all those numbers, all those statistics, eventually to get your data sample so you can do your analysis, so you can then do your research and the collection, data collection and the conclusions. You first need the body of framework and context. You load that in, then from there, it becomes very easy to get a accurate or as accurate as it can be, because it does make mistakes. So I'm not saying blindly copy paste whatever it spits out. No, obviously, use your common sense. But in most cases, it will give you something really accurate. And it could be so accurate that it's unto the measurement of the cocktail, it's almost there. And then obviously, when it spits out the recipe, you have to try it, of course. But I'm just saying, and you can take our words for it, most of the time it's really accurate. Why? Because it knows everything. So that's ChatGPT, and we use it for everything, like reward system we recently wrote. We updated our code of conduct and the rules for the staff members, the role division, we did a new one. So basically a lot of things, whether it's marketing, even the contract I get from like my suppliers or third parties, I put it in the chat, and we'll just, instead of calling a lawyer, you can do the ground analysis by ChatGPT, right? So it's this, anything that regards text and anything with language, for sure ChatGPT, we have it open all the time. I tell our staff members, our crew members to use it. You can even train different personalities. This is how I do it. You guys can do your own thing, but how I do it, let's say I have an open thread about crypto, then I have this person, this thread will become a person, my advisor. I will give a name to this person. Then there will be someone that's writing Dutch captions that are sassy and fun and bubbly in Dutch. Then this person becomes Roxy Dekkers or Roxy Edge. Then I'll say, hey, write me a caption in this tone of voice. Then it knows exactly, first of all, what we wrote before and our context, but also it will come in right away in that voice that you want. And the same could be said if it is something professional and you want a very dapper, proper way of answering certain or emails or write a letter or contract, then in that sense, that person can become your lawyer advisor or whatever. So I name them like my AI thread, but you guys can do your own thing, obviously, and you can have open multiple threads. But now at this level, it has shared memory through all the threads, so it doesn't even matter where you come in actually. So secondly, another tool I would strongly urge anyone that's designing anything, and I sometimes see the job openings with their descriptions, however years of education, certain programs, certain university degrees in design or creativity, which I get, but I think these days outdated. What do I mean by this? Someone that never studied before but did a lot of editing in CapCut will be leaps and bounds ahead of someone with classical training. If you want simple content production, I'm not talking about high cinematography, even that, I think if someone played enough with AI and CapCut and whatever tools might be out there, he or she will be really versed in that, because these things we learn by doing. No amount of textbook can prepare you for effective working and producing content. So in that sense, for us, when we have people apply, we already are gonna ask, hey, how long did you work with CapCut or Canva? Like, I don't even want to know what you know of Final Cut or Premiere Pro or Photoshop. I want to know if you worked with CapCut before and InShot or whatever may be your equipped app or editing tool. So in that sense, CapCut for us, again, you can use anything you like, but it's out there, it's easy, and even the Pro version is not that expensive, but you can use one tool to achieve a lot of things. That is one thing you for sure know. There is skill efficiency and there's like time savings. As these apps grow, and it is growing a lot, I think in a half a year it can transform a long version like this, recording of an hour, into 20 AI edited clips which are on point. So eventually it will be this far that we'll be able to analyze, and I think it won't be long before the languages are also being implemented. So you'll be hearing me in English, but my mouth will speak in Dutch when you put it in AI. There are certain tools that are able to do this already. We are not versed with it, so if anyone is already versed with it, hey, let us know, drop the hint, drop the tip. But if it's out there and really usable, we'll definitely dive into it. For Canva, I don't understand why people that know it, they use it every single day. But there are still enough companies that I know of, or freelancers of people, they are so stubborn of using, as a good example actually. Coming back to never trust everyone. I'm someone that really just first give you my trust and belief that you're gonna do a good job and know what you're doing. And then realize, I should have gave a better instruction briefing about whatever is to be achieved. Because it was actually about the menu again, but then 2024 was another menu, and the person started out in Illustrator. And I get it, some people really love Illustrator, but that person started out making our cocktail card in Illustrator because she was designing certain illustrations, which Illustrator is meant to be. But then she carried on making the whole menu, which had consists of multiple pages, in Illustrator. Now, as you heard before in this earlier moment of this clip, you eventually, if it was Adobe, I would use InDesign. But then why not Canva? Because now you can just basically custom select your dimensions. You can select your layers again. You can lock them every time. You can select multiple text frames. And if you want to change, it changes. If you upload the images, it doesn't take much space. Everything's in the cloud. You never lose your document. Because I've made the mistake before to save only on my laptop. And then when your laptop gets stolen, yeah, you're screwed. So in that sense, in Canva, we even use Canva for our menu design now. Ask Teddy. She knows. She'll like randomly see in the project some menu I'm working on. Even the day of today, I'm making stuff myself because it's that easy.
I think we're taught in university to use like more professional apps. And that's why I never use, I use Canva, but only for presentations. But for example, when I made the magazine, we had to use Photoshop, and that was the requirement.
That's very outdated.
Yeah.
Because it makes no sense. But Photoshop is really time consuming.
Yeah.
And then eventually, even that for Adobe will go away because they are working on their own Adobe AI thing. Firefly is the first one, but more and more will come. Eventually, it will just be the same as Canva because they're following Canva. Because Canva started out ground up from templates. So things that make your life easy, they are already way far ahead. But Adobe is following them. That's what Canva is trying to do. Everything they release, it's to take market share from Adobe. So definitely Canva. The AI capability is not there yet. I wouldn't even start diving in. So about the AI imagery, Midjourney. We also have a subscription on Midjourney. Why? So it is very effective for people like me that can visualize stuff, but we lack the drawing skills or editing skill or illustration skills of someone who's classically trained, like you guys are going to be. I don't have those skills, but you better believe I can describe to you what I want to see, because I already see it. Here comes Midjourney. Here comes a tool you can just type away, and again, this is something you need to put in your 4 to 8 hours to really learn how to prompt, because eventually if you know how to prompt, it will become scary good. We use it, this background now in front of you is made by Midjourney. I just use an example. I put in my nice prompt, this one as well. So if you would rewind this 10 years ago, I had to pay someone 500 euros probably to design this for me. And I'm like being a low end. And probably I don't even get this what I want, right? That will be the same story all over again. I'm gonna describe to them in 5 pages, font 10, Arial, and it's gonna be very detailed what I want. And what do I get? Not that. But here, with a few buttons and for few words and few minutes or maybe an hour, because it's worth it, that hour, you'll get eventually what you want. So now for us, any imagery we want, and we cannot right away draw it or illustrate it, we use Midjourney. This will be used for thumbnails, covers, backgrounds. And at this point, we sometimes even use and we'll put the button on Instagram made by AI or something, right? For our covers for Instagram Reels, we use it, but also some images we use on our socials. It's generated by AI. And can people tell? No, not yet. But would we care if people could tell? No, because it's just the imagery of something and we're not trying to sell that imagery. That's not the purpose of the whole thing. But even if you had a t-shirt shop and you only have a rough design of your t-shirt, with AI now you can, and I've showed Teddy as well, the examples, you now can make your commercial and you don't even step foot in a studio or you have a model or nothing. These things just walk around in your clothing, full-fledged in the sunshine, with constructs of decayed buildings behind, and the wind blowing from left side, and the sun coming from the right top. But so we use Midjourney. We still have Adobe Suits, because it was expiring the other day. And we use a lot of Lightroom, because AI is not there yet to have an existing photo, so not generated by AI, to have an existing photo. Unless you guys have ways, and that's my lack of knowledge, and I'm pretty sure you can achieve it if you're really versed in Midjourney. You can take an original image and then edit certain effects in there. But I find it easier to have presets ready and just one click of a button. And even Teddy asked me today, how do you get this photo? Because we're so used to certain tools, we're afraid to let go. Oh, but maybe one day I'll need InDesign again to make a menu, or maybe one day I'll need Photoshop again to edit a photo, or people that edit videos, maybe I need Premiere Pro again to edit certain videos. We are so hesitant to drop what we know because that feels comfortable. Every time there's a new tool on the block, people are always so hesitant, as if it's poison. But if you don't try and don't do it, you'll never see how effective it may be. Now I'm gonna pivot to more in the business sense, the tools in the restaurant, and that's more towards the hospitality business. But in any case, if you're deciding to choose an operating system within your business, could be your barbershop, bakery, accountancy, there are certain softwares or packages you can use to facilitate your operations day to day. I would always suggest, again here, not to be afraid of what's new. Very good example. Back in 2018, and for those that are older, they know for the restaurant sphere, QR was not a thing. People still came to your table, good evening, Mr. and Mr. What may be today? And then you just pick up the order on a pen and paper. Or if you're a really good waiter, you're gonna remember everything by heart. If you are a good waiter, you should still be able to do this. Who ordered what, when, which order. That was very normal in the Netherlands. I'm not talking about in the US, they're far ahead. In Asia, they're far ahead. They probably are using QR way left and right, left and center. But 2018, from what I know, to my best of knowledge, there was not one single all-you-can-eat restaurant, mind you, all-you-can-eat restaurant, in the Netherlands that were using QR. So here comes Budlaru. They were new on the market. They had big clients in the soccer stadium in Eindhoven, PSV, the food hall, food market in Eindhoven. Those certain big companies were already their clients, but they were, again, low volume, low items, a la carte restaurants. So it's for the first time when they approached us, well, basically we approached them because I was looking for this solution. Because we knew there was something on the market like a tablet. Also, again, for the authors out there, they know the tablets. Little background information for your knowledge, trivia. If you want these things, they would quote you, first of all, every table needed a tablet. These will break down in 2-3 years. So that will be needing replacement for 2-3 years. Let's say you're 50 tables times 400 euros, 20K right there for 2 years already down cost. Then they will not just be operating. No, it's not enough. They already earn a markup on every tablet out there. There is a subscription you have to do, so they maintain your menu. That usually spends between 350 to 600 until 1,000 euros per month to maintain your menu. And it's not in the sense of that it's easy to edit. No. We have to call them. We have to wait until they're open. If things are sold out, you're just basically, I have to tell every table it's sold out. If things break down, you're just sometimes even screwed because nobody can help you. They don't pick up the phone. So in that sense, it was quite an unreliable outcome, which is very expensive. And then here comes Budlaru, which costs €1 per table, 0 maintenance fee, and that's about it. And what we use as hardware, the phones people have. Did we get pushback? For sure. First year and a half, we even got 1-star reviews. I think to the day of today, we still get bad reviews. We're like, I have to use my phone. But they always tend to forget before when you had those strokes, the paper, long, tall papers, all the all-you-can-eat use. One person was still on the table writing down the stuff. So they were not engaging anyway. And people were still calling out the dishes and deciding what to eat at the moment anyway. So what's the difference? You on the phone, you on the table.
But they're always on their phone, so...
Yeah, that's what I mean. So for us, it was easy. Did we take a risk? Yes. Did Budlaru take a risk with us? Yes. But they also compensated. So in that sense, sometimes you get the benefit of being the early adopters because the pricing will be lower. Usually they lock you in those lower price range because you were the first to trust their software or solution for that matter. So there's a lot of benefits and you can really trial shoot with these people because they gave us the service for free for 1.5 years. We were in close contact with the founders. These opportunities will never happen again. Budlaru people, I can now reach them, but let's say I'm new, it's tough to reach the founders. Very tough. So they're really big now. They are more than 3,000 customers. I don't know. A lot. Point being, for me, the choices were easy. Back to the ROI. Here comes a solution, technological solution for €1 every month per table. That's it. And back then, it was not easy to edit the menus, but they were available. Along the way, we adopted to another thing, but that's the next point. If you have more efficiency, choose the efficiency. You might be afraid like, hey, our staff is now used to this system. Our customers are used to this system. I'm used to this system. Hey, Peachy is working. It's very comfortable. Why would I try something new? It's working. Why would I fix something that's not broken? If something is more efficient, and you have to see, that's why we started off with do your own research, and you do your research like the system what we use now, it is more efficient because everything's linked, and editing any menu item or putting things offline, online, closed, open, discounted, changing prices, everything within hands reach and done, like everyone can do it. It's all aligned, reservations are aligned. So if you can find skill efficiencies and efficiency within one tool, I would always opt for that. It might not seem you're saving costs, and that's something we're gonna break down another episode about being offensive in business and defensive. It's actually a defensive move in a sense of, because people think, it's new technology is really offensive because you're like on offense trying to do more sales or whatever it may be, which is true. But it's also a defensive move because you're saving costs. And people, from what I see and observe, it's not clear to them that in the end, you are gonna save costs. Because if tasks are more efficient and aligned, there is no double tasks or wrongly put through orders or duplicates of certain tasks that are done before or reporting that have to be done 2 times because, and some of you might not know this, but if you're operating a brick and mortar store, there's a lot of technological suppliers per package. But the problem with these packages are standalone people, but sometimes they talk to each other. But what if there is an error in certain aspects of operations? You don't know where it is. And even if you need the reporting, not everything is aligned. Let's say Teddy comes here really often, but sometimes she likes to take away. Sometimes she likes to dine in. Sometimes she does all you can eat. Sometimes she engages with chat of the reservation system. Solution 1 is the package we talk about. All these data inputs are not accumulated, but they're separate. They are accumulated within the one software package, but they don't talk to each other. Whereas solution B, what we are using now, it does talk to each other. So we eventually, if the solution is out there, we can even see how much Teddy is spending on the average per month, or what's her favorite dish across points of sales, because whatever she takes away or dine in or a la carte or all you can eat favorite dish, we can see, hey, she's a very much fan of fried salmon. Then we know maybe it's a birthday, we're gonna give her fried salmon roll. Hey, happy birthday, here you go, because we know that's your favorite. And she'll be like, oh my god, how you know that's my favorite? One of the benefits, but another benefit obviously is how you can change everything on the fly, which is really important. Because let's say you just ran through your last bottle of soju peach. It's very tiresome to go to all the tables to say, hey, it's sold out, and it's fine, it works, but it takes a lot of time. It's much better and more efficient if you just press one button, sold out, and at the moment you click sold out, it's all changed through across platforms. Every offering you have, every point of sales already have soju peach sold out. It's way more effective. That's why you could be hesitant on software tools that are working for you, and it's fine, you're already conditioned to work with this. And that's, I think, where we want to close with. I think the moral of the episode, if you will. We are all creatures of habits. We like our comfy, fuzzy, comfortable habitat, way of doing things, way of living, activities, frame of worlds, and our reference frames. But just because that's the bubble you're in doesn't mean you cannot add new things in the bubble or maybe investigate another bubble, if that makes sense. And I'm trying to basically urge and advise and maybe just tell you from person to another, maybe sometimes just go out of that bubble and just really explore. Like how I started out in my journey, be the character that's going in the dark and you have to unshadow the shadow areas, and maybe you find certain items that are shiny but useless. Maybe you find some items that are dirty and maybe half broken, but maybe when you eventually pick it up, dust it off, retool it, it becomes something really useful to you. And that's what they say, someone else's trash is someone else's treasure, which is very much true. But if you're never open to try and see and discover, you'll never find out. And even if it's on your lap and you never play with this new tool or thing, also you'll never find out. And ignorance is bliss, but why not help yourself out and people around you to make more things more efficient, effective, just get more things done in less time. Because then you have more time to do what you actually want to do, whatever maybe. For me, it's like helping my guests, training my staff, discovering new cocktails. I have just more time to do things that are actually adding to the total product instead of spending time on things that are miscellaneous and don't really require our time at this point, because you have so much tools to help you get things done faster. That's what we want to wrap up with. If you have any questions you've saved, I think you do.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone that wants to learn something, but it's afraid that she will not gain that much knowledge and there's always someone who'll be better?
How do I stand out?
Yeah.
Easy. You're unique, right? Your worldview is unique. Your life experiences are unique. And we are accumulation of our worldview and life experiences. So in that sense, everything you do will have a flair of Teddy. So in that sense, it's unique on its own already. So who cares if you're becoming the next fitness influencer, as if there were no billions now. There is only one Teddy, the fitness influencer. And again, coming back to my second point, if you did enough inner reflection and you know what you're strong at and you know what you're weak at and you own up to it, you'll stand up just like this. Because then you're speaking your truth, speaking your message as you. And people are less blind than you think. People are less oblivious as you think. People really know when you're authentic. And it's also an overvalued word, but when you're being you or when you're like putting it up front. We notice this in real life, and it's a nice topic for another time to be open to these things. A lot of people are not open to it, that they don't even know when someone is being authentic or themselves or not. So in that sense, people will see it right through, because eventually true talent will bleed through. And sometimes people are delusional delusional and they don't have a talent for that. But then we discover after trying, right? And then we can pursue something else that maybe is even better to fit your strengths. So we were talking with Chris just today. I have such a passion for following the newest music and the trends and what's happening. And in the past, I have a good track record to call out those who will be popping the next season. But I've never done something with it. And so I had a whole deep conversation with my buddy, ChatGPT. What do I do with this? Because I recognize this is something I do with great passion. And I spend countless hours per week, per day in this. But I'm not doing anything with it. And I'm sure my music taste is unique to me. And maybe I'm speaking for more people, but I like sharing this knowledge and people have value with this knowledge. Even Chris was saying, like, if I had your music encyclopedia, I'll become a famous DJ already. So I'm just saying to give this example, like even I'm sometimes thinking about and a little bit struggling on what do I do with this. But the first layer is realizing what makes me. And that sometimes you don't even know, people have to tell you. Just sometimes be honest, ask people like, hey, don't lie to me. Be brutally honest. It could be two ways, right? What do you think I suck at? I think I'm doing well, but I'm not really doing well. Or I think I'm really prideful for, but maybe I'm not having the proper grounds to be prideful. But another way is, hey, what do you think make me stand out? And don't be superficial and like whatever superficial features, but no, like really what's the Teddy vibe? What do you think I'm gonna be good at? And then you have a lot of personality tests, but those I would take an aggregate of it. It's not just one, but take 20. Nah, obviously. And then make a synthesis and then. But your professors will be those who can help you, your colleagues, peers. That's how I discovered through other people as well.
Okay, thank you. Also, where do you draw the line with the use of AI?
So as we've spoken on to this in another podcast, but technology and AI doesn't change anyone, it just exposes you. So the purpose and intent, how you use these tools will eventually translate in your work. How we use it is the advisory role. But you, yourself, as a human, still draw the conclusions. You still write the insights, the consumer insights. You can have it advise you, what do I look for? What are the elements? What are the attributes? And then, okay, we have this and this, and I think this and this, and I think there is a correlation between this and a causation of this, and it come with certain results. And let's say you're debating yourself, take an opposite side. There is a whole discussion, but there's a discussion happens also in your mind, but now you have it into words. And from there, you draw your conclusion. From there, you make your report. And then from there, you have it spelling checked. But I'm just saying, it depends on your intent and purpose. But that's with everything. It's the same with a gun in the hands of a policeman, of a soldier, that protects your country is a useful tool. But in the hand of psychopath, yeah, I don't know if that's so useful. But it's the same tool. It's about the intent and whose hands are using it. So that's how I look at it.
A lot of people put on their CV and portfolio and LinkedIn profile, they use ChatGPT to explain their job, but basically they're lying. They're just copying the perfect job description just to put it there. How do you see this employer?
Coming back to what we said earlier, you should dabble in those things as well, and then you can toss out one of the 20% nuggets you have of the insight. That's why we have interviews. I'm not saying skip all the interview steps just because of a shiny CV. CV is nice, it gets you through the door. But then we have interviews, as some people implement multiple layers and multiple levels of hierarchy. Eventually, you won't fall through it. Like the lie won't, the mask won't keep up. You'll break through it. That's what we talk about. People are not that oblivious. Some people just notice that you're fake or you're real deal. In the hands of someone that's use it for ill intent, it will always fall through. And I might say some bad apples won't fall through the cracks. No, obviously. But then they're probably, hopefully, are fired after half a year. But in the most cases, we do see when it's like a mask or something fake. Because no matter how much the deepfake is or those AI made fake things, humans are humans and we know when it's not human. Eventually, if you really pay attention, there is a certain cadence, warmth, tonality we speak as a human and you as a person. So if they make a copy of Teddy, and if you pay attention, they won't know, hey, that's not how she speaks. Even let's say they make a replica and has your voice. And it comes down to, again, your intention, but also for you as a receiver, know your stuff, do your research, right? Then you're at least aware when you're being manipulated or people are not telling the truth.
And do you think it's scary the way AI is growing?
Coming back to the gun example, coming back to email, coming back to internet, coming back to VPN. People always try to fish data or try to hack you, or the same internet can help you with information, but people can also hack your stuff and then you're screwed and they have your bank account or whatever maybe. But there will be always people with ill intent. But us as a human civilization, we do have the bulk of people that have good intent. And speaking on like the jobs that are being lost or whatever maybe, we just move on to do other things. Like they always give the example, that person that bought 500 horses before the automobile was invented just lost a bunch of money because they were like having horses do the transportation and plow the fields. But now here comes the tractor and the automobile. And yeah, but again, we found new jobs. And the same with what you say of the fake illustrations or film, like clips of people and whatever. You then get at least to do then think of better, interesting topics to talk about, write about, design about, even share more of your insights in a high volume way. Because we're living in a very high volume content output kind of economy. Even if you think by yourself like, oh, I'm putting out too much content, it's not enough. There's always one person doing more. And not only one person, like billions of people that are doing more. So what is your piece of snowflake amongst the blizzard? So now with the tools, you can now at least create more snowflakes and then eventually create your own snowstorm somewhere. Without their help, you can do it, but it's just gonna take way more time. But then other people are gonna use the technology and then be leaps and bounds ahead of you. And that's for another episode. So nice, we are stacking a lot of for another episode. One of my regrets, but we'll talk about that in the next episode.
Which topic?
I have to think about it. Maybe like failure.
I would like that, honestly.
Why, you wanna see me fail?
No, but
No.
like I really see you like very confident, and I feel like you give me vibes as a person that never failed in life.
Nah,
Yeah, I don't know.
I was just talking to the guys that like talking about failures and shit. We're talking about life.
Yeah.
So it's not, oh, an athlete never fails, or on an athlete it's on a public display. But before that person became famous, he or she failed a lot of times as well. You just don't get to see it. Without your failures, there's no success because everything just went well. How do you even distinguish the failure and the success? You can't as yourself. So let's say you're only succeeding in life. Everything you do is peachy. Everything goes along. How do you even realize what's success? That's those nappy children that are raised with money and never get to do anything. And then they decide to go to do volunteer work and then they realize, oh, the world is a scary place.
I don't think
It's a tough place, right? No, but some do. But that's on the parents, what they have to learn about what's real life.
How do you see AI in the future, in the upcoming years?
Let's just take the next year. At this speed, it's gonna be crazy. I did call, and a lot of people share the same sentiment, that the text to video will become really effective. It's already now. I've seen a lot of crazy works of a lot of people. But another thing, I'm curious how fast it will come really usable to the general public. The prompt, and then you can edit the prompt. Now you just have to rewrite the prompt and again another thing. There is no, what there is at Midjourney, there are mixed opinions about it. But I think it will become like within the half a year, become really effective. And then I can just literally have a photo or already a prompt and I really edit those things again with the text tool. Because Photoshop has it, you can use AI to edit certain areas, but it's not really effective at all. Then the voice thing is gonna be a thing. So you will have you speaking in English and that person speaks in like translating there. But it will become more open to public. I think there will be more suppliers of your AI tool, if you will. So you have already Deepfake from China, you have like Grok 3 from Elon Musk, you have T from Sam Altman, and don't forget Mark Zuckerberg, our Marky Mark. He's gonna do his thing. The glasses are a real thing. People already use it. That's gonna be a thing. But I don't think it's gonna be this fast in a year. I don't think in a year the accessories will be this advanced. I won't go that fast, but hey, who knows? It will just be more computing faster, more deep research. So basically levels of analysis. So they will divide, look how we really do research in our own heads. Hey, okay, this is a topic, which field, how do we wanna give borders on each field? What do we look at? What are the conditions for this, variables for this? What do we check for this? Like there are layers of question, it's already happening, but there will be like even more. And then obviously the virtual tools and assistants will become more of a thing. So people do your booking, ordering your food, taking your calls, the bots will answer your DMs, all these. End of the year, I think will be like more open to public, but for now it's still very niche. Most people don't have access to these. First layers of accounting, those who are paralegals, the work of what they are doing, anything that has to do with language and numbers, first layers will be replaced by AI for sure. Thanks for watching. Please give a follow or subscribe. Like the video, we should have said at the beginning, but who cares? Trial and error, you guys. Also, we are trying and trial and error. But please comment what you like for the next episodes, because that's a thing you can help with. And if you watch along, you can, and I forgot to do this episode, toss in some segues we can go in and you guys can vote. But yeah, thanks for watching. Till the next episode.